Well, hello, welcome back to another episode of my so-called Xennial life. Sorry for the lighting. Like I said, this is just for fun, so I'm not getting all this lighting stuff going on correctly. Plus, it's winter, so it's dark and dark early, and we have about 8 inches of snow outside, so that's quite nice. So I've been absent for most of the remainder of last year, which was really just a couple days because the last episode was a Christmas episode. And, I made it to 2022, but unfortunately, the day, Christmas Eve, America and the world lost a great icon, which was the immortal Betty White, the real true gangsta. So, so I thought this would be a perfect opportunity for me to talk about one of Betty White's, I think one of her better works, in my opinion, is The Golden Girls. Obviously, she was in other places. Like I did binge watch not long ago the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and I never seen all when I was a kid and a teenager. I didn't really watch Mary Tyler Moore, but I did see a few episodes, and I only recently, when I binge watched it about a couple years ago, that Betty White wasn't in the first couple seasons. That actually surprised me. I thought she was in the entire show. So so in her honor, the passing of Betty White, I thought I'd do something about the Golden Girls. Not only was she the last Golden Girl to go, I'm positive she was also the last person to go for Mary Tyler Moore. Betty White was 99. Kind of bummer that she would have been 100 within a couple days. Today is the 7th. 10 days it would have been her birthday. Such a bummer she missed it, in my opinion. But anyway, but she lived a very fulfilling life. And even for 99, 400%, she was still in relatively good health. So anyway, let's talk about the Golden Girls. Anyway, I do got some little bit of notes, but the Golden Girls premiered on September 14th, 1985. I would have been 6. And ended May 9th, 1992. Would have been 13. So it was on for about 7 years. There is technically an unofficial 8th season. That would have been the spinoff, The Golden Palace, which I did see a few episodes of that. It wasn't bad. The Golden Palace wasn't bad. It was actually okay. But without Bea Arthur, who played Dorothy, it just wasn't the same, but it wasn't bad. So technically there was 8 seasons, okay? So I did watch this with my parents, as many parents, at least my parents, did allow us kids to watch some kids shows like Alf and Punky Brewster, the Hogan Family, and a few other stuff. And my parents, I was also into shows that maybe I shouldn't have been watching as a young kid, but this, back in the 80s, so we were allowed to watch certain violent shows. But I will say, in terms of watching shows with my parents, I enjoyed Golden Girls as a kid better than some of these other shows like that my parents like to watch, like Moonlighting. I mean, I kind of, and Knots Landing, I might appreciate it now, but back as a kid, I guess it's so boring. Anyway, some other additional info. You may know the cast members. These people are pretty well known. Besides Betty White, Bea Arthur, Rue McClanahan, and Estelle Getty. Actually, Estelle Getty wasn't. She played the oldest character, but she wasn't the oldest person. I think Rue McClanahan was the youngest, but I do believe Bea Arthur, who played Dorothy, her mother Estelle Getty played her mother, but Estelle Getty was younger than Bea Arthur. Okay, did I make any sense? By the way, Estelle Getty played Sophia, for many of you probably already know. The show was also incredibly edgy for the time, edgy and progressive. It did deal with stuff of like gay rights and racism and women's rights and stuff like that. But the show had a lot of sexual jokes because, as you know, Rue McClanahan, who played Blanche, was the slut, and I can say that because she was called a slut and many times in the show, especially by Sophia. And Betty White played Rose, who was a dummy. Again, that was a lot of the comedy. So there was a lot of sexual jokes. There was definitely some edgy, other edgy humor, mostly involving sex and women's rights and stuff like that. It was really funny. Now, like I said, I remembered watching it as a kid, but years and years later, I want to say probably in the late 90s, early 2000s, when we had cable, Lifetime began airing reruns of The Golden Girls, and I started watching The Golden Girls again as an older person, or as my nephew says, I'm wicked old now. But and I actually think that actually introduced younger people, to The Golden Girls. Now, this is not uncommon. Whenever, like, I know the Brady Bunch often is constant, and the Gilligan's Island is often constant getting younger audience because of other networks keep showing the older stuff. I personally think some of the humor holds up incredibly well, especially the edgy sex humor and all that funny stuff, and the insults that Dorothy gives out, and even Sophia gives out, is usually like very funny as shit stuff. I think the funniest joke was the I'm going to show clips later, but the lesbian Lebanese joke, and I'm going to include that a little bit later. But so that is, I think, one of the funniest jokes on the show. Is one that always stuck with me because I just thought it was so funny. And like I said, there was they did feature like stuff about, besides the sex stuff, they did feature LGBT stuff in it that was, for the 80s, would have been progressive. I just want to say that the 80s and 90s were definitely more progressive than some younger people give it credit for. I'm not saying it was perfect. There was definitely issues, but it was not as backwards as some commentators on Twitter like to say. I mean, I fully acknowledge that there was still a lot of work to do, but Golden Girls and some other shows proven that there was definitely some progressive shit going on back then. And I would still watch the Golden Girls. I know sometimes it's shown on other networks, but you know how when they syndicate shows, they cut so much stuff out. And sometimes I can remember the scenes, and I'm like, oh, that was a funny scene. Such a bummer you took it out. Sorry, that's my phone. Keeps falling over. So anyway, it's a bummer that, Betty White is gone and they're all gone. It's kind of weird to see. It's like knowing that they all have died and stuff. But, but for what the show will live on is so will the theme song. Thank you for being a friend. Do, 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 do. Definitely a catchy song. I don't think they do too many of those. That's one thing I think is missing in most shows. Like a good majority of them nowadays don't have like sort of a catchy jingle. So anyway, I wanted to do like a top list of funny moments, but it's incredibly difficult to do it because there's so many funny moments. So I just found a bunch of random clips. I'm just gonna play a couple so you can kind of get how funny this shit was. So here it is.
Excuse me? I had about 56 boyfriends. Of course, that was before I knew Charlie. I probably would have had more, but I wasn't allowed to start dating till I was a senior. 56? 56?
Oh, God, stand back. She's gonna blow.
What do you mean you had 56 boyfriends? You told me you were a virgin till you got married. Hey, you can have a boyfriend without having to go all the way. You cannot. If that were true, Rose, that would mean you were a slut.
Oh, come on, Blanche. How can you say that? So the woman had 56 boyfriends in 1 year. She's not a slut.
Thank you, Doris.
She is the slut. She's the grand poobah of slutdom. She is the easiest woman in this room.
Dorothy Spornak, you take that back.
The slut is dead. Long live the slut.
I think I will take a slice of cake. Hello.
Uncle Angelo, I'd like you to meet
I'm Sister Rose.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Sister Blanche.
Nice to meet you, Sister Blanche.
We're here collecting lingerie for needy, sexy people.
I just heard on TV the airports are closed. There's a big hurricane headed this way. They want everyone to stay just where they are.
That means that we could be trapped together for days.
Oh, Jesus. Please protect us and watch over us in this our hour of need.
Amen.
I'm not going out with him. You go, Blanche. What? Well, you like him. I know you do, so you go. What? I couldn't.
Of course she couldn't.
You stay out of this, darling.
Well, why not? It's all over between us. He'll know that tonight.
It's impossible. I feel like a
A backstabbing slut?
no.
Complete this famous saying, better late than...
Blanche!
Pregnant.
Hello. Hello. Do you have a match?
I think so. Let's see. Here you go.
Thanks. Have you ever looked at fire? I mean, really looked at it? It's beautiful. And it's also amazing to think how much damage it could do if it fell into the wrong hands.
Rose, are you going to be very much longer?
What is going on?
Nothing.
Oh, come on now. I heard you laughing. What's so funny?
For starters, Gina's a lesbian.
What's funny about that?
You aren't surprised?
Of course not. I mean, I've never known any personally, but isn't Danny Thomas one?
Not Lebanese, Blanche. Lesbian.
Lesbian. Lesbian. Lesbian. But isn't that where one woman and another...
We already know what it means.
But Jean's a very attractive woman. She could have any man she wants.
She doesn't want them.
Well, why not? A man has so much more to offer, you know what I mean, doesn't it?
Yeah, I found that out when Mark Perper was running for class president in the 3rd grade.
Why, what does that have to do with anything?
Well, his campaign slogan was, "Vote for me and I'll show you my wee-wee." He won by a landslide.
I'll never understand what Jean doesn't see in the opposite sex, but hey, if that's what makes her happy, that's fine by me.
There's one other thing.
Jean thinks she's in love with Rose.
Rose? Jean has the hots for Rose? I don't believe it. I do not believe it.
I was pretty surprised myself.
Well, I'll bet. To think Jean would prefer Rose over me? That's ridiculous.
Blanche, please!
Now, you tell me the truth. If you had to pick between me and Rose, who would you pick? Who?
Blanche, pull yourself together!
Oh, I'm sorry. Does Rose know?
No.
Oh, good. I don't think you ought to tell her. After all, she's not as worldly and sophisticated about these things as I am.
Absolutely. If she finds out Danny Thomas is a lesbian, it'll break her heart.
No, wasn't that just funny stuff? So anyway, you know, if you could see some for people who have never seen it, either my age or older, which is probably not too many, but particularly maybe some younger people, I think they would just really enjoy it. And it's still very popular today among many groups of people. It seems to be still very well received. And I'm sure someday they'll do a reboot, a remake, a reboot, which, you know, I'm not one of those types that thinks remakes and reboots are awful. I actually do like the new Wonder Years. I think that was really good, really funny and really good. But I can understand that not all of them are really good, and a lot of them are just junk because it's like, an example, I like the original Charmed. I don't hate the new Charmed. I actually enjoy some of the stuff. I do like some of the characters, but it just isn't the same. I think because the new Charmed is a little too serious, and not as comical. Like I said, I might like the characters on the new one, but to a degree. And again, I think they put, I don't mind politics in my shows if it's done right. And I find that in Charm, when they do put politics in it, it doesn't quite work for me. It just seems more like, all right, and it's like, again, too heavy-handed and not clever. And sometimes it just seems like completely unnecessary. It's like, okay, why'd you have this part in it? It seems kind of weird. I don't want to go ranting on the new Charm because, like I said, I don't think the new Charm's bad, but it's definitely inferior compared to the original, which had the more lightness and the more funny aspects and great characters and stuff like that. So, but I'm just saying that not all reboots are good, but they're not all bad either. And I guarantee you're going to see the Golden Girls, and I don't know. I don't know if a reboot would work. I mean, they would really have to get some funny women to replace, you know, Betty, Rue, Bea, and Estella because then it would just fall apart. I mean, it just won't work. I mean, of course, it could have just created something new and original. Weird, huh? In the meantime, hope you have your happy beginning 2022, and in honor of Betty White on January 17th, think about donating to something for animals like ASPCA or something like that. I probably will myself. So anyway, thank you.